This is The Basketball Show with Shane the Hammer Heel. What they gonna say next?
What's happening, everybody? Joe and Hammer with you for another episode of The Basketball Show as we build up to Game 3 of the NBL Grand Final Series. Hammer, I think you've got, you're making your point there, aren't you?
Making my point. Thank you to Mike from Throwback Store for giving me a jersey that would have fit me 20 years ago and 20 kilos ago. But this is a message not only about how good the Kings are, for all middle-aged guys. This is how you wear a jersey with a T-shirt underneath. You don't want to scare the kids and the ladies.
You're scaring the kids with how tight that thing is.
It's so tight.
And you've left the bloody tag on as well. Just.
Oh, I may want to give it to someone or something.
I feel like I'm a disgrace.
Now, the truth is that you were going to wear jack jumpers, but you have so disgraced in their performance in the first two games, you refused to wear it. Fair enough, mate. It's all good.
Lies. Complete lies.
No?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all. Plenty to get through in this episode as well. We're speaking to NBL owner Larry Kestelman. We're also talking NBA playoffs with D-Rock, of course. And we'll get into the Grand Final Series in a little more detail. Just now, it's all thanks to TCL Mobile, 2K, and Bet with Joel. Here's our starting five. Well, as we know, the Kings winners in a close Game 2 down there in Hobart. Hammer, what did you make of the game as a whole?
Well, it was a great game. It was a game that many expected that Tassie were going to make. Actually, two of the three Stooges predicted that they were going to win. Can we take a look at that?
We can.
Yo, Game 2 is going to be something else, bro.
Yo, all I can say is this. D-Rock, if the MVP ain't playing,
Right.
Jack Jumper's winning Game 2. 100%. It was going to be a tall order for them with the MVP playing. Without the MVP playing, Jack Jumpers is winning Game 2 in Hobart. Facts. What you think?
Hey, you're telling the story, but I agree. I always thought, even with Adams playing in Game 2, I thought the atmosphere was going to be too much for the Kings. So I had the Jack Jumpers winning Game 2 no matter what. Now I got them as favorite to win Game 2. I know that might be controversial. You may not totally agree with me there, but Jack Jumpers winning Game 2.
Listen, the only man that ain't going to agree with you is him. That's the only man. Everybody else is going to be like, yo, you know what? In Hobart, them angry ants, there ain't no joke. Ant Nation down there is no joke. Jack Jumper Nation is no joke. So that's what we got. Love to hear what you're thinking, Hammer.
This is what I'm thinking. Freaking frack. This is what I'm thinking. 100% facts. Take it. It's facts.
I can't with those two, honestly.
Oh,
the two of them together are a nightmare.
March. Even got the green for the sweep. Hey, can you believe those two? Travel around the Gold Coast drinking
Big calls.
champagne and
Big calls.
Oh.
We'll get to the Jack Jumpers in just a second, but I do want to touch on Chase Buford very quickly. He would have put his entire foot into that LED screen had Kevin Lish not been there to stop him.
Yep.
What did you make of that?
Well, I read a tweet from Paul Smith saying that they're looking for compensation and they, a bit of damage done to Chase's shoe and they want, some money for it.
A few people were upset at the time that there wasn't a tech foul or a warning he could still be fine. We don't know that at this point on a Monday. Do you understand the frustration from Tassie fans?
Well, from Tassie fans, yeah. There should have been a tech foul, but that's just the emotion. That's what we want. I also saw people bagging DJ for hitting a big shot and then celebrating as well. We want to turn these guys into robots. We don't want to see personalities.
Come on, I love that. That was clutch. That was so clutch. That was awesome.
That was the biggest shot of the season. They got the MVP out and he stands up and just goes bang. And then he's not even allowed to celebrate and everything else. Yet we see Scott Roth celebrate every single win like it's a grand final win. People are kidding themselves. That's what they want. They want robots. No emotion. Don't show anything. Let's sanitize the game.
We don't do robots.
It's not important. Oh, well, people want that, though.
Oh, come on.
Some people want that. If you can bag DJ for that, then
he actually went and celebrated really in front of his own bench as well, so nothing wrong with that.
Well, great job. Well
the Jack Jumpers, great game from the Jack Jumpers. You get the feeling that's the one they really needed to win.
They had to win that one.
So disappointing from their point of view. But they've been impressive, though. They've really sort of stood up to the challenge. No one expected them to be there in the first place, but they've carried themselves really well.
It's a great story. We knew they were going to compete. That's what they do. They're tough. They're together. They're going to compete. But their grand final was Melbourne United. That's what they had. The difference between Melbourne United and the Sydney Kings is you take the best player out of Melbourne United and Chris Golding, and they just didn't have much. It wasn't built the same. And kudos to the Sydney Kings, because you take the best player out, and they've got other players that have been sacrificing during the year that have the ability to be able to step up. DJ, Ian Clark, Jarrell Martin, how good was he as well? They have been by far the best team. Well done to Tassie for being able to get this far. They'll go away, they'll rebuild and add some pieces to get better, but remarkable story for both clubs.
I did speak to Tyler Harvey yesterday, and he agreed with you on the whole voodoo thing. He said
I actually said hoodoo on the thing. They mocked me. A bit tongue tied, but that's okay. Might have been my suit. Might have been too tight.
He did.
Well.
He said, look, all for the Tassie Jumpers, he's loved what they've done from a distance. Obviously, being a Hawk, but he was like, damn, it stings having to watch it now from the sidelines.
Well, I think Illawarra are the second best team in the comp. That semi-final should have been the grand final.
Speaking of Illawarra, Brian Goorj stepping down from his role as coach. Does that come as
Perth?
A surprise to you? He's not going to be in the NBL next season.
I know you say that.
There is no way.
Yeah, probably not. But I never write
It's
anything
been
off.
awesome having him in the league, though.
So good. He's the GOAT. Best coach we've seen in the NBL, no doubt, over a long period of time. So I hope that he continues somewhere. And probably unlikely straight away, but hopefully he's back.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I was down at their MVP awards night last night, and he did say, look, regardless of what happens from here on in, he is coaching. He says he's still got it in him. He's still got the passion and the fire, and obviously with the Boomers as well. And I think he's left the Hawks in a really good place. And congratulations to Jacob for taking over as well.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah, it's exciting times
But what you
for
say
the club. It's going to be very different.
What you say at presentation nights isn't always what translates.
No, fair enough.
But no, he has. He's left it in a great place. Well done, Jacob. He'll do really well.
Yeah.
And
I tell you what Goorj did say. He said, regardless of what happens over the next little while in terms of where he's coaching and all that, he'll end up back in the gong.
He'll end up back in the gong.
Yeah,
well, I'm sure Jacob's happy to hear that.
Well, no, I think as in like even when he's done with basketball and all that, he sort of suggested that he's loved it down there
it's
that
a good
much.
place of gong.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, no, it was cool.
Now, people have spoken about maybe he ends up in the NBA.
Possibly.
Surely he's too old to be cutting up tape as an assistant coach. If it was an advisory role or something a little bit different than an assistant coach, sort of above that, he could add great value. But assistants work hard. At his age, he doesn't want to be cutting up tape, surely.
I don't know. Is it a bucket list thing for him?
He isn't cutting up tape, mate.
Maybe not, but he's still really ambitious, clearly, and incredible at his job.
He could add heaps to an NBA program, but I'm just saying, as an assistant coach, those guys work so hard at editing and everything else. That's not what head coaches do, is what I'm saying.
All right, we'll see what happened. Finally, in our starting five, the headline, BFFs no more. So Jenna O'Hay was on ABC over the weekend. Came out and basically didn't really speak about it, but essentially confirmed what a lot of people in the basketball world know about the Liz Cambage Opals bust up prior to the Olympics. I found it really interesting, I suppose, because it's the first time that it's been really confirmed in the public. But I had an interview locked in with Jenna just after their campaign. She'd arrived back in Australia, and we went to speak on the phone, and she actually sort of really politely just said, kind of essentially broke down in tears and was like, look, I actually can't talk about it. I'm not ready to. So I thought that was really, really big of her to be able to be in a position where she was okay to at least acknowledge it. And the fact that these two really, they've grown up together. They were incredible friends, teammates throughout their careers, and they now haven't spoken since before the Olympics. It's a pretty big deal, I think. You've got nothing to say on it, do you?
No, I don't have anything to say. I didn't learn anything. And you think there's more to come? You think Liz
came out, what did she say? She said, the truth will always come to light, and it isn't even dawn yet. I think, objectively, you just have to take everyone for their word. It's not done. More will come to light. Whether or not that actually benefits her or not, I probably don't think so, but I think it's...
Well,
she deserves
Australia haven't told us anything.
the light of day.
They didn't tell us anything.
No.
They just treat everyone like fools.
Yes.
That's what they do.
It's yes. I think more will come to light.
Sure they will.
Will be interesting. Anyway, let's keep things moving. But today we are going in depth with NBL owner Larry Kestelman. Larry, thank you so much for being with us. I've got to begin with the Jack Jumpers, their first season in the league. How has it been for you watching their success throughout the campaign?
I think it's been amazing. I think they've exceeded certainly my expectations, and I think the rest of the countries as well. So in the first year to be in the finals against the big boys, that's an incredible effort. I think no one gave them any chance of either being in the finals or the grand finals. So that's the sort of success stories and stories in general we want in the NBL.
Well, Larry, we like a good piss take here at the basketball show, and I reckon this is exactly what it is. The AFL, they've dragged their backside for years talking about getting a team to Tasmania. You've just come in there and gone bang, and what's more, you've said you're happy to meet with them at any stage and they're welcome to use the Jack Jumpers name. I love it.
Well, I didn't quite say they're welcome to use it. I said I'm happy to have a chat to them about it. I think we might play a little hard to get for a couple of minutes, but it certainly, I think, would make sense for a conversation, without a doubt.
Absolutely, love it. What have you made of the grand final series so far in terms of crowd numbers, the broadcast, and also just how competitive it's been as well?
I think everything has been just wonderful for me. I love it. A great competition, nice and close. Broadcast numbers are up. Attendance is amazing. Hearing that we're going to have a great crowd on Wednesday. So, no, the final's been exactly what we want. You want the storyline. You've got the underdog. You've obviously got the big dogs in Sydney with an amazing roster. And I certainly think they by far have been the best team the last couple of months. So, looks like they're heading towards a championship, which I think would be well deserved. But Jack Jumpers are not going to go away quietly. So that's exactly what you want. You want the storylines. You want to see, can the Jack Jumpers upset the Sydney Kings on their home court and take it to a Friday game? And that's what we need at the NBL. We need stories, and the underdog that was never meant to be where they are, and it's having a little bite.
Larry, you must be incredibly proud. 7 years ago you came in, you had a vision of wanting to align the league with the NBA, and you've done that through the Next Stars program, pre-season games. What's next for the NBL?
I think for us, it's really about growing that avid fan audience. I feel like we've almost missed a generation of people that love basketball and love the NBL. And for maybe 10 years, it became a little bit irrelevant, not up to scratch. And I think in the last 7 years, we've shown and built ourselves to be the second best league in the world. And now we're building a whole new base of fans, from kids to adults of all ages. So I feel great. So it's a two-prong attack. We want to keep building the local audience, and then we've got our little eye on the overseas as well. Being the second best league in the world now, I think we can look a bit more globally, and I think we're doing well here, but that'll take a couple of more years to build that base of following and the passion, which certainly this year we've seen go to another whole new level. So looking at some opportunities, how we make ourselves more relevant overseas. Next Stars is one of the programs. We want to see how we sort of exploit that on the overseas scene even more. Make sure that the US takes even more notice of what we're doing here, and same in Asia. So very much two-prong attack, local and overseas.
Larry, speaking to a lot of sports fans here, I think everybody's really well aware of all the progress that the NBL is making and the evolution of the league. You've announced a play-in for next year. We love that initiative. Which way are you leaning in terms of the play-in, in terms of maybe how many teams will be involved, how many games it will include as well?
Yeah, so I'm not going to say that I'm the ultimate expert on what the actual competition should look like as far as the play-in's concerned. But what I'd like to see is I'd like to see one, possibly two teams still be in the running as we're heading into the finals, just to keep that conversation going, keep the fans engaged. I think it's such a close competition that we've had here in Australia that we want more teams in the opportunity to make the final and win the competition for longer. So that's what we want, and that keeps the fans engaged, keeps their interest alive, keeps the audience and attendance high. So it'll be 1 to 2 teams, but the exact format I'll leave to Jeremy and Sean and Vince. I think they will come up with a better format than I will.
I love the fact that you guys don't take years to be able to implement new strategies, and you've done that with the play-in. We've been pushing for it on the basketball show. We love the refs challenge. We think that's a great
How good
thing
is that?
For the sport as well. How good is that? And the fact that they don't lose it if they're right. The next thing that we're pushing for is transparency on salaries. I think fans want to see it, and I think this is the perfect example. How much have the Kings spent? And word is they've spent under the salary cap. But a low-budget team like Tassie, how well have they done with what they've got? That transparency, I think, adds another level of discussion.
I think it's interesting. I certainly am not one that would argue against it. I think it's an interesting concept. I think fans would love to know it. I do think we need to have a real discussion with players themselves, how they feel about it, sort of through the players' union, how the owners feel. I don't like some of the gamesmanships that goes on through free agency and with agents and so on. So for me, the more transparency, the better. I would even have a look and go, is there an idea how we do everything completely openly online? How do teams bid and put their bids forward for salaries, and who do they want? And so the more talkability, the happier I am. But I understand there's sensitivities involved, and I'm not sure, Shane, how you'd feel if people were asking about your salary right now and they were saying, well, how much is Shane on now? And whether you'd be happy to disclose it, I'm not sure. So I think it's a personal thing, and we need to get, I think, the players and the owners involved in this conversation. But I would personally be for it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem at all, but I was probably talking about more team spends than individuals. I think individuals is that second side that adds a bit of talk, but team spends is the big one.
Definitely.
I think that's an interesting thought.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Larry, obviously the success of the Tassie Jack Jumpers this season, there's now talk that the league could expand even further. Canberra is a city that's been thrown out there. Where are you in terms of those discussions at the moment?
I think NBL, we've obviously brought a couple of teams back that had gone missing on us in the past. We're still one of the lowest number of teams in professional sport basketball competition around the world. So there's, without a doubt, room for at least a couple of more local teams. And we've had approaches from all sorts of different locations. There's been conversations, again, from Gold Coast. There's been conversations from Sydney, from Melbourne, even from Perth. And certainly Canberra is an interesting one for us to have a look at. Canberra feels a bit like Tasmania 2.0. I had a look at their venue. It reminds me of what is now MyState Bank and used to be Durban Entertainment Centre, built in the same era. It's a bigger city than what Hobart alone is, but similar size to what all of Tasmania is. So about 500,000 people, similar to Tasmanian side. So I see no reason why Canberra should not have a team. We just need to go through the process and make sure that both the government gets behind it, the fans get behind it. And that's how Tasmania happened. If the fans want it badly enough, then there'll be a team in Canberra. So the process has started. We're having conversations, but certainly not there yet. There will be definitely another team in Sydney at some stage that we'll start looking at in the next year or two. There's conversations in Melbourne for a third team, but I believe we need to give Southeast Melbourne a little longer to establish themselves, having just gone through COVID. So plenty of opportunities for expansion, but we're not going to rush into it. It's about making sure that we're sustainable, the teams are doing well, and the competition is growing. So we're happy where we are, but we'll keep on looking for opportunities to expand.
Larry, can you give us some clarity around, what the league and yourself actually owns of NBL teams? I feel like there's a bit of unfair criticism comes your way. It seems to me, without knowing, that's why we're asking the question, that you'll actually start a team, build it up, and then obviously bring in the appropriate owners. It doesn't seem like it's your vision to own a whole lot of teams long term when you own the league.
Definitely not. Our focus is squarely on the league, and whatever is good for the league, that's what we're going to do. So I do feel, through my history of first with the Melbourne Tigers and then building the Melbourne United organisation, Brisbane, and now Jack Jumpers, we certainly have a formula and we know what it takes to build clubs, and it's a huge amount of work, financial commitment, effort. So there's a formula to these things, but my intent is not to own teams. It's to start them, build them the right way, and then look to bring in the right owners that will continue with what we start.
Larry, Matt Loke has previously reported that the league are looking for private equity partners. How much truth is there to that? And if so, where are you in terms of those discussions?
Yeah, I saw the success of what the A-League has done, and that was interesting to watch. For us, we're in a slightly different situation. The league is not actually looking for funding for its operations. I think we're doing well without that. What I am looking for is, I think, talking about those two pillars, if I could find the right strategic people that would invest in the league and help us grow it, that's what I'm interested in. So we've certainly started some conversations with overseas companies and just learning and understanding what that means. There's a lot of interest in investment in sport from all around the world. We've seen the value of our licenses and of the clubs absolutely skyrocket, which is well deserved, and I'm so thrilled for both the league and the owners that that's happened. And the same thing with the league. We need to have a look. Can we find the right people that will help us take it to the next level, in particular overseas? I feel like Australia, I'm not going to say we have it covered, but we certainly know our way around. But I wouldn't say that I'm the ultimate expert on media rights and how to grow this business overseas. So people with that sort of experience and knowledge would be very interesting for us to have a chat. And we've started conversations, but certainly have not started any formal process, and probably won't until towards the end of the year.
Well, Larry, congratulations on everything you've done. As an ex-player, I couldn't be more proud of what you've done with the league and seeing it grow. Before I let you go, though, there must have been a bit of argy-bargy over the years with you and Jeremy about different things, and I just want to know, please tell me that when that happens, you guys go down to the local court, a game of horse, big Vlade Divac. Please tell me that you give it to the big fella.
No, mate, listen, I don't pick fights that I can't win. So I definitely don't get on the court with Jeremy. So we duke it out in the office. I feel it's a little bit more of an even turf rather than on a basketball court. So plenty of robust conversations, but certainly not on a basketball court. He wins there every time.
We'll have to get you out there at some point, Larry, I reckon. Hey, thank you again so much for being on the show. I believe you've got your wedding coming up soon in the off season as well. So best of luck for that. Congratulations, and good luck for everything in the future.
Thank you very much, guys.
Good on you, Larry.
Time to bring in former NBL MVP Derek Rucker as we talk all things NBA playoffs with Points Made. D, how you doing this week?
I'm very well, Joe. Before we jump into this, though, can I just share an anecdote with you? Friday night, I'm on the Gold Coast with Homicide. Long day of work.
Oh, we know. It was difficult to avoid.
Joe, can I finish my story, please? Thank you. Anyway, I messaged Shane because Homicide and I finished a late night dinner. We're going back to the suite we were staying in. And we're like, let's see what Hammer's up to. I text him. I give him the pre-call warning text. He's like, oh, mate, I'm up watching video. I felt bad for the guy that he was alone on a Friday night watching video. So Homicide and I call him. We have a great conversation. Mentioned to him some private details that we were indulging in. And the next thing I know, I wake up the next morning. This guy has broadcasted all the privileged information Homicide I gave him the night before. Hammer, you know better than breaking the code. We were having some champagne. So I got to ask if everything's all right.
I responded to a drunken call about how the Jack Jumpers are going to win, and I brought the green little broom in here because you're already a bad tipster, mate. Then you get with Homicide, who's a bad tipster, and then it just gets ugly. You guys need to pick and choose, mate. You guys need to pick and choose.
We're trying to generate a little hype.
Okay.
But it was a great time, and we always love the three of us are. We have a good time going after one another. All right, Joe. Points made.
I was going to say, who have you got for Game 3 on Wednesday?
Oh, it's a wrap. As much as I wanted to see this thing go 5 games or 4 games, it is over. I give the Jack Jumpers credit, though. Both teams yesterday put on an outstanding performance. Mm-hmm. The Jack Jumpers had a chance.
He just keeps swaying and swaying and swaying. It's like it's contagious. It's the homicide-itis.
I call it the way it is. I'm objective. Okay. Xavier Cooks has the drive of a lion.
Yeah. We knew that before Game 2 where you said they were going down. And DJ has some coconuts too to be able to make some shots when things on the line. So
we were going to talk about DJ later on, but I'll bring it up now because it's kind of come to light that he's received death threats after hitting that amazing 3 at the end of the game. It's ugly behaviour. It's disgusting. I guess I want to know from you guys, what advice would you give him at this point? Because it's obviously discouraging. He clearly has just hit, as Dee said, one of the biggest shots in NBL history. What would you say to him in this situation?
Very simple. Be yourself. We know what DJ is about. He's a quality person, a quality player. And Hammer, if I would have hit that shot at any time in my career, if they thought DJ's behavior was bad, I would have been running up in that crowd, pointing in people's faces, especially if they've been taunting me all game. Hey, if you want to give it to people, as we've said on this show many, many times before, if the crowd wants to taunt him during the game and he hits a big shot like that, you better expect something coming back right at you.
I would have carried on like Scott Roth. That's how I would have celebrated, just like Scott Roth. And we love it when he does it. But this is about Twitter. And I've said this for years. Twitter need to verify everybody's account. Just like you get your license or you verify anything else, you have to have your real name on there. So these scumbags that want to put those things up should be charged accordingly for this sort of behavior. That's the real story here.
Yeah, well said. Well, hopefully DJ's okay, dealing with it well, and kudos for him for knocking down that shot in the first place. Let's get into the NBA playoffs. Dallas have kept things interesting. They've leveled their series 2-2 with the Phoenix Suns. 45.5% from deep in Game 4. Really, really impressive. Dorian Finney-Smith, 24 and 8. Luka had 26, 7 and 11. Dee, what have you made of the series so far?
Very simple, Joe. Luka's decided to pass the ball and play more of a point guard role. In games 1 and 2, he was like the Euro White Harden out there, just dribble, using the ball. He didn't throw any entry passes, Hammer. I had to turn the game off.
Are you allowed to say that?
I am allowed to say that. Are
you allowed to describe him that way? Just checking.
I am allowed to say that, yes. So anyway, he's gone back to Dallas, and now he's running the offense, Shane. He's getting other people involved. Jalen Brunson is now playing that basketball that we saw him play against Utah. And look here, Dallas is going to lose if they need Luka to average 40 a game. If he's in that 26 to 30 sweet spot, flirting with triple doubles, Dallas will win this series. Watch.
Yeah, no, Dallas aren't winning this series. Phoenix are going to get it done. My question back to you was, do you think that can last with Luka? We saw Brunson have 41 points when Luka's out. Obviously, they need to be able to work together, but is he getting enough usage at the same time? Because for me, he's not a guy that's just a spot-up shooter of being able to get the ball at the end of those plays. He can also facilitate.
I know it. He's so big. I mean, I think he forgot about that aspect of his game. But you know what I admire right now about Luka in real time is his ability to learn on the run. And he's learned between games 2 and 3. Obviously, he's been coached up. He's got one of the greatest point guards in NBA history as his head coach. And I'm sure they've had, collaborations over the past week or so to figure it out. But Shane, I don't think Phoenix can handle them, because at any point, Luka can be the best player on the floor.
All right, let's move on. Philly have also leveled their series with the Heat. I need to kind of eat my words here a little bit, because I felt like Miami should have walked all over them, and they did for the first 2 games. But the return of Joel Embiid just makes Philly a completely different prospect. James Harden.
Wait a minute.
It's fool's gold, and I want to hear what Derek says as well.
Don't bury the lead, Joe. The story
I know.
is
Go
James, Jimmy, Harden.
What do you have today? 31, 7 and 9, 6 of 10 from three-point range. Hammer vintage James Harden.
I'm not fooling for that. That's fool's gold. I'm not getting sucked in to James Harden. I'm staying true with the way I've thought about him for the last couple of years. You can chop and change, just like Derek came my way after pumping him up for years. He has one good game. I'm not sure that can last. No doubt they've got the talent to be able to win this series, but I think the culture is on the other side.
I'm going to focus more on Miami. This is disappointing for Miami to go up there twice now and take L's. And it really never looked like they were in either game, Shane. And if I'm projecting this out to, say, an Eastern Conference Finals where you're going to face Milwaukee, they've got no chance. Because I think Giannis is a better player than Embiid. And I think Milwaukee is a better team than Philly. I mean, they're warning signs right now. If Miami, your team, Joe, Miami, if they lose game 5, this series is over as well.
And I would like to add that I have been on the Bucks from day one all the way through this. when you guys had
This
doubts.
is about Miami and Philly. Why are you
just
bringing
brought
up
up you just brought up the Bucks because you're saying that no one's going to beat them, and I've said that from the start. They've been able to do this without Middleton, which is the most impressive thing. Their second best player. Other people have been able to grow into those roles. They've got depth. They've been there and they've done it before. I don't think anyone's beaten them in the East.
D, Game 5 coming up. But what do you do if you're Eric Spoelstra? Because Duncan Robinson has not been in the rotation, but they were 7 of 35 from deep today, 20%. Do you see if you can bring him back in and try and get him firing?
It's tough because they relied so much on Gabe Vincent and those guys and Strus during the course of the season to keep them afloat. And it looks like Spoelstra has confidence in them. But, they signed Duncan Robinson to a big-time contract, Hammer. And he was just playing in the series before. But you know how the NBA is. Tuesday, you can be the star. And Friday, you can be sitting at the end of the bench, not taking your warm-offs off for a couple more games.
Yeah, but next Wednesday, then you could be called upon and then you get your chance to be able to shine again. And that's what the best players do. They stay ready. They understand it's about the big picture. They're not riding the highs and lows from game to game or series to series because there's just been too many examples of when guys get their chances and they come off and then they turn a whole game or turn a whole series around. So he'll be ready.
All right, guys, Warriors pumped the Grizzlies in Game 3, 142-112. The big story out of this one, though, really is the injury to Ja Morant and the way that he sort of accused Jordan Poole afterwards of breaking the code, which was a little bit of a dig at Steve Kerr as well for what happened to Gary Payton Jr. a few days ago. What have you made of the whole situation? If Ja is not there in Game 4, can the Grizzlies get there?
Back to that other one. That foul, Skip Bayless said that foul in transition on the break
on Brooks,
was nothing.
On Payton, yeah. No, he absolutely whacked him one across the head.
Is he kidding himself?
Yeah.
Like, that had to be a suspension, right?
It had to be. Broke
terrible.
his elbow.
Yeah.
Broke his elbow. What else needs to happen for a suspension to occur? How severe does an injury have to be? A broken elbow for a basketball player is a pretty big thing.
Even without the elbow break, he intentionally just went for his head to be able to take it out. It was like back in the 80s again. That needed to be a severe suspension as far as I'm concerned.
Now, look here. We know Memphis played very well without Ja. That's regular season stuff. That record is going to be under immense pressure now facing up with Golden State. And Game 3 was vital. They let Golden State run up 142 on them, Hammer. You know who's confident going into Game 4? All of the Warriors. They had like 6 guys in double figures. Steph, Clay, they both had 20 plus. Is Jordan Poole the best player now? He might be leading them in playoff scoring right now, Hammer.
It makes no difference whether Morant's available or not. Golden State are too deep. They've got too much talent. They've got too much confidence. They've been there. They've done it before. They're going to be able to get this done regardless. Mm-hmm. And I think it'll make them tougher going through this tough series against Memphis as well. They are going to be really well tuned for a grand final playoff of that series against Phoenix, Derek.
All right, very quickly, we touched on Milwaukee before. They just got over the line against Boston in Game 3. Can the Celtics do anything to pull themselves back into that series?
Well, I don't think you write them off. They've got, they're well coached. They're a great team, great culture. They play some defense. So they're always a chance to be able to turn this thing around. But I just love the superstar in Giannis. I just think, like Derek just said before, I think he's the best player in the league. He's a superstar that won a championship and then just went away and kept working and working to be able to get better. He lifts the rest of the players around him. He's difficult to stop, but I love his personality and mindset as much as I love his game.
And, Joe, this isn't the type of game where Giannis is going to back away from. He's trying to bring it. This guy has a hunger. He has an appetite for success. And I think, Boston will be tight sitting around in Milwaukee the past couple of days, knowing that if they don't win Game 4, they've got to beat Milwaukee 3 out of the next. They've got to win all 3, right? Yeah, they've got to win 3 in a row. That's not happening. It's a wrap for Boston. So, Boston's had a great regular season. They had an outstanding finish from the All-Star break. But Shane, playoff basketball again is so much more different than regular season basketball. And Milwaukee is a team with Middleton or without Middleton that's built to go the long distance.
Here.
Beautiful. All right, the playoffs will continue. We'll see how they play out. Dee, thank you so much again. Go and, I don't know, carry on with having your paparazzi follow you around for the rest of the week. And
Look forward to your next video with Homicide, mate.
Yeah, exactly. We'll check in
That'll
next
be good.
week.
Put your heads together.
We
Great
got some
minds.
projects coming, Hammer. You need to come up here and get involved.
Please do not get involved. Do not. No.
I'm a bit old for the paparazzi and stuff like that, you know.
Catch you, Dee.
All right. See you later, guys.
See you, mate.
Alrighty, that's all we've got time for the penultimate episode of the basketball show for the season.
Yep, and 15,064 people is a record for an NBL Grand Final, Tigers versus Magic 1996. Get out to Kudos Bank Arena, buy tickets, because that record is going down, just like the March crew are going down with sweep crew this Wednesday. And and before we go, the Rodcast podcast, and Rodneo, the voice of basketball in Australia. Check him out. I was actually on there. Yeah, he's good.
Okay, we'll have to have a listen.
Look for some other ones. Maybe you won't enjoy mine, but
no, we're sick of you. We're definitely sick of you. I'm so sick of you. I'm not here for the show next week, so it's just you and Dee.
Derek Rucker and I.
Yeah.
And I can brag about winning the tips for the year.
You can.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, have a good one. I'll see all of you next season. You're stuck with him next week. Catch you later.
This is a co-production by News Corp Australia and Closer Sports.